My question for this beautiful day is, has Mercedes gone completely bonkers? That is what we're going to try and find out today. Because they have dropped the, new, even more spy photos now of this new AMG GT EV, which is going to be about 1,000 horsepower EV that's going to look like a concept car from 2022. We're going to have a look at the concept car in these new spy photos as well. And also, they refreshed, they're going to facelift the Mercedes C-Class, and it feels like they're just adding these star pattern images, or daytime run lights on every single vehicle, and I don't like that, because it doesn't fit the outline of the headlight or the taillight. We're going to have a look at that as well in Photoshop. But first of all, let's check out these articles here from Car Scoops. I'm going to link both of them down in the description, both of the new AMG GT concept and also the C-Class refresh. So starting with the AMG first super sedan, looks ready to fire off its 1,000 horsepower. And this is, I'm not sure if I should call it the problem I have with EVs today, but it feels like the only thing that manufacturer thinks is going to be exciting. I mean, it's a fact. The only thing that could potentially make an EV exciting these days is how much horsepower it's going to have, because the driving characteristics of EVs are all the same. They all feel exactly the same. So just pumping out as many horsepower as possible seems to be the only, card that manufacturers have when it comes to EVs. And to me, it's getting a little old, to be honest. I don't know about you, but AMG may be developing a new generation of a V8, but it thinks electric is the future. That sentence is sort of a contradiction here. If they are developing a new generation of V8s, then I don't think that they think the future is at least not 100% electric. And here we have it, this new photos of the new AMG Super Sedan EV, 1,000 horsepower. We do have the star, look at the stars in the taillights for this as well. I'm not sure if these are going to be the production version taillights. They look pretty small to me. So it shares styling hues with the 2022 Vision AMG concept. Unique LED lighting, spoked aero wheels. I do love the wheel design. I've said it so many times before that I love when we have multi-spoke wheels like this. It just looks elegant and beautiful, and in this case sporty at the same time. You also have an active rear wing for this. So combustion-powered AMG GT 4-door will continue, thankfully, alongside this new all-electric flagship. I'm not sure, it says here, the car will push AMG into a new market and serve as a rival to the likes of the Porsche Taycan, Audi RS e-tron GT. So is it worth getting excited about? That is the question here. Now, I'm not sure if the Audi R8, not the R8, I wish, but the RS e-tron GT is actually selling well. So looking at these numbers here, just Audi RS e-tron GT sales numbers. In the US, Audi e-tron GT sales declined in 2024, specifically Q4 2024 saw 828 e-tron GT sales, which in my head does not sound like a lot, but it is a very expensive car. I would say it is a niche car as well, and this is a significant drop from 3,202 sold in 2023. And by comparison, Audi's overall sales decreased in 2024 with 14% compared to 2023. So I don't know how well these e-tron GTs are RS e-tron GTs are actually selling, because I never see them out when I'm out and about on the roads. I think I've seen it maybe one time here in Colorado, an e-tron GT, and that is pretty much it. So I'm not sure if this is worth getting excited about. Let me know what you think about that. Are you excited to see this new 1,000 horsepower EV from Mercedes, or is it just a meh, who cares? Let me know down below. So these new teasers show a prototype with a sleek and low-slung design that shares unmistakable similarities with the Mercedes Vision AMG concept from 3 years ago. Now we do have the LED daytime run lights mimicking the shape of the three-pointed star. Similar DRLs are featured on, of course, the new CLA and will be added to other Mercedes models. We're going to have a look at the C-Class in a minute, but AMG has enlarged them for this vehicle. You can see just how big they are here. And this is almost what I wanted to see in the Mercedes CLA redesign that I did. I enlarged these the three-pointed star and made them into basically the entire headlight unit. I think that's a much better approach for this type of design for the LEDs, and have them look more naturally in the front end. So there's no sign of a traditional front grille. You have tightly spoken wheels that should also aid in aerodynamic performance. At the rear, this prototype ditches the ugly temporary lights of other recent testers and gets a pair of circular LED lights, again, with a star motif right smack in the middle of it. So here we can see some photos of this. We have the star pattern in the front end. You can't really see anything when it comes to the proportions of this. We have the LED in the rear end, the circular lights with the star pattern in the back as well. Active arrows somewhere here up top. The proportions, I feel like it still has too much of a EV bubbleness to it going on. I don't know. I could be completely wrong when they unveil the real thing. Not sure when it's going to be unveiled, but here you can see just how small these taillights look. This makes me think that these are probably not going to be the final taillights for this vehicle. They just look way too small for me. But you know, if you unwrap this and we see the rest of the graphics, that could potentially have a huge impact in how you perceive the size of the taillights when you see the rest of the graphics that's around these taillights themselves. So while both the Taycan and the RS e-tron GT represented dramatic departure for both Porsche and Audi, both cars are excellent, and AMG had better be at the top of its game if it's going to release this and make people excited about it. So the new AMG, it's built on the new AMG EA architecture with a battery pack from the US, and then you have the motors from England. Mercedes-AMG is reportedly pursuing a 4-digit horsepower figure, giving it enough power to compete with the flagship Taycan and the RS e-tron GT models. Of course, that is what it needs to have if it's going to compete with those. But at the same time, we're going to have to wait and see just how well these cars are going to sell. It might, I can see it selling well the first year or so, you know, when it's exciting, new and exciting, when it first comes out. But I think it's honestly going to have the same curvature, sales number curvature as the e-tron GT, meaning it's gonna pump up in the beginning and then slowly just dip down over time. That's pretty much what happens to every car, I guess. So fortunately, for those who still want a thunderous engine, Mercedes-AMG will continue to sell this new EV alongside the ICE-powered AMG GT 4-door, which I assume is going to look exactly like this one. I'm not sure if it's going to be, I don't think they're going to change the proportion or anything of this, compare, you know, the EV to the internal combustion engine, because that would just be way too expensive to do. So that was the supercar, the Super EV. Now let's have a look at the C-Class here from Mercedes, which they're also going to facelift for 2026, I do believe. So Mercedes is giving the C-Class a face only a star could love. So new head and taillights, as well as an updated turn signal on the mirrors. So very small tweaks here, but since this is going to be something that they have across the entire lineup, this star pattern in the front end, and I'm going to show you what CarScoops has to say about that, and I completely agree with that statement a little bit further down in this article. So this is a relatively minor update that includes new starry lights and revised mirrors. Besides the exterior styling tweaks, we can expect interior changes and powertrain updates as well. I'm more interested to see what they're going to do with the interior. If they're going to go even more minimalist, even more, screens, and go in that direction, if they're actually going to dial it back a little bit and introduce some more physical buttons. That is, of course, what I personally want to see for this refresh. I doubt that is going to happen. I think we're going to have a bunch of screens like we've seen the past 3 or 4 years or so. So the C-Class will become the latest model to feature starry headlights. These classless editions shout, "I bought a Mercedes," and are about as subtle as a sledgehammer. I completely agree with that. I don't think they look classy at all. I don't think it has... It doesn't need to have, like... How many stars are illuminated in the new CLA? I think it's like 200 or something like that. Hundreds of stars, small little stars illuminated in the front end. It's just too much. So aside from that, we can expect a slightly revised grille and a new front bumper as well. That is what's covered up here, as you can see. The only change out back appears to be the new taillight graphics. Again, star pattern coming back. In the interior, you have a new steering wheel and an updated infotainment system. And here we can see the design of this, or the spy photos of this. You can see the starlight here in the front end. I do think the outline for the headlight is going to be the exact same as we have in the pre-facelift, and that is my problem with it, because the pre-facelift was designed, when they designed the outline of the pre-facelift, they also had the internal pieces in mind to follow the structure or the outline of the headlight unit. Now when we just put a LED star in the middle of this outline, it's going to clash with the housing for the headlight unit. I don't know if that makes sense, but that is the problem I have with these facelifts from Mercedes, where they put stars inside the headlights and the taillights. Same thing with the S-Class as well. It just does not look natural at all. So looking at the rear end here as well, it kind of looks like an old Audi A6, how they taped this up. But you can clearly see the starlights inside here as well. The LED, of course, coming back in the rear end. So power updates should be relatively minor. The US spec model currently offers a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder, pumping out 255 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. I don't know, man. Mercedes, they're making me a little nervous here with these changes. I hope they're not going to go into an era like BMW has been in for the last 5 years, where the design is just not up to standard of what, I mean, this is just a personal opinion, what I personally want to see from Mercedes. I feel like they're on a slippery slope here with the new designs and updates that they're doing. My 11-hour online class in design sketching is now only $47. If you have any desire to pick up the skill of sketching products using simple tools such as a big pen and cheap print paper, this is something you want to check out. Over the years, I've taught thousands of students from all around the world how to sketch cars and products, and most of them have seen amazing results from my classes. Analog Designer Pro Pack is the full bundle of all my classes I've released over the years, and it's yours for just $47. Check out everything that's included and see what my students have to say in the link in the description, or simply visit analogdesignerpropack.com. So let's jump into Photoshop here and quickly have a look. There's really not we can see, but we can try to figure out the proportions at least of these two vehicles. I mean, the C-Class is pretty obvious, the proportions there, but the big news is probably going to be this EV, supercar EV up top. You can see just how much bigger the outline or the star pattern is here compared to other models where they sit inside of the headlight unit itself. Here, I'm honestly not sure if this is covered by a plastic piece, but if we look at the outline of the headlight, it definitely looks like the concept from 2022, having almost the exact same. I do believe it has a very similar outline to that. We can see the big Mercedes logo here in the front end, and we also have some cooling in the lower section, this being the EV. Not sure if the internal combustion engine is actually going to have a proper opening here for the grille. Probably going to have the more frowning design, something like this, like we've seen in most recent Mercedeses. We used to have the smiling grille, which I think looked a lot more graceful and elegant, but now all Mercedeses come out from factory looking very angry for some reason with this frowning design that we have here. We have a couple of lines up top on the hood as well. Probably going to have these two ribs on the hood like we've seen in a lot of Mercedeses. Since the original SL from the 60s, I do believe. Looking at the rear end, here I think this gives us a better idea of the proportions. And the thing is, this roofline looks very soft to me, and this is where this bubbliness comes back. But we also have a very sharp end point in the rear, and I love to see that, because if we're going to have all these bubbliness that goes on here, we need to have at least some sort of structure in the rear that shows defines the end point of this vehicle. And I do think that is what's going on here. We're going to have an active aero wing here as well that probably pops out, something like that. Looks like we have some nice body lines in the side here as well. We have one line here, and that is probably it. Hopefully it does have some connection to what's going on in the rear end bumper here. Looking at the overall surfaces, classic Mercedes surfaces, meaning it's very soft until we go down to this line at the lower section, and then it goes something like this, I would assume. So it's going to be interesting to see the production version of this for sure. I'm 100% more excited about the internal combustion engine version. Hopefully, I do believe they're going to slap a V8 in there, and they're also going to, I think I heard that Mercedes with the new C63 selling well below expected numbers with the 4-cylinder. I think they've come to their senses and they're actually going to refresh the C63 and finally put back a V8 in there. Now, looking at the front end of the new C-Class here, can't really see much here either. I think most of the front end is going to be exactly the same as what we have right now. You have the big logo here in the front end again. We do have a new bumper design, and probably the intakes in the lower section is going to be a little bit redesigned, but the big news is going to happen in the daytime run light, of course, having this star pattern both in the front and, of course, as you can see right here in the rear. This is a pretty interesting camo because it honestly looks like I think it's a 2010 Audi A6 when we just change up the taillight design like they did here with the tape and the camo. This reminds me a lot of an Audi, the proportions as well. Now that these taillights sit here, definitely emphasizes even more the Audi-ness of this vehicle, but it's clearly a C-Class with the lines here going in, like that we have this sideline connecting to what's going on in the bumper. So interesting times for Mercedes. Again, I hope they don't mess this up like BMW did. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I definitely want to see them go back to a less shouty design when it comes to the daytime lights, running lights, and also the tail lights. Just make it a little more subtle. Mercedes is, to me, is supposed to be a graceful brand with beautiful, subtle design that shouts luxury. It's supposed to have a presence to it that doesn't need to have these bling things. As I'm talking about the starry lights, it doesn't need to have that because everybody knows what a Mercedes is. You have the star in the front end, and that should be sufficient for people to know, and of course the proportions that this is a Mercedes.